We always thought alien life would come from the stars, but it came from deep within a rift in your local toy store. Today on Outside the Box Reviews, Pacific Rim Week concludes with the NECA Pacific Rim Series 2 Leatherback figure. And this is the Kaiju of the Wave, and boy am I excited to be talking this guy. Now before I get too into this figure, I just want to interject a little tidbit of information. I recently heard an interview with Randy Falk, one of the head guys over at NECA, talking about the Pacific Rim license, and he said that originally the reason Series 1 was a little limited was because Walmart was actually in talks with them to carry the line. And that meant they had to kind of tone down the figures to meet a price point that Walmart wanted to make. That never came to pass, and that means they were left trying to struggle to put back everything they really would have wanted in the figures anyway into the action figure line. And they said they did minimal amounts of it with Series 1 just because of time crunch, but Series 2 got a little more, which we've kind of seen, and that Series 3 sounds like it will be the full realization of their original vision. But Leatherback here is definitely a sign that they were able to do a lot more with a figure. Just first and foremost, Leatherback here is on all fours, but if we bring in Knifehead from Series 1, we can see that they roughly stand the same height. And once again, Leatherback is on all fours. So this is a much more massive action figure than we'd previously gotten with pretty much anything NECA's ever done. This is a normal release figure. This is just the same price as the rest of the Pacific Rim line at your local shop, but this thing is huge. Starting off with the head is actually one of my few areas where I'm not entirely satisfied. Leatherback has like 6 eyes, and they only really gave us 2 gold ones up here. They look nice, the gold paint, but there should be one pretty much on either side of that eye that's there. Also, the teeth didn't really get painted here in the jaw. They're just kind of the same flesh tone as the rest. He does have this nice crest on top of his head, the bony looking crest. The shape of his head is really cool. The sculpting is really well done. The jaw actually opens to reveal his blue tongue, which is super neat. His little strands here in the back of the head, the little kind of filament wire looking stuff he had. Now this is a hard plastic, it's not rubberized, so be very, very careful with this stuff not to break it. Coming down his, well, let's say his leathery back here, we have some very cool armor looking sculpt going on. We have the kind of EMP device, I think this is, up here on the top. Some huge ridges, and the little tiny bit of a tail here. Some great wrinkle detail going on in the flesh. He has the swirling bioluminescent pieces. These look fine. The paint isn't quite bright enough to really sell bioluminescence to me, but it works for what they can do. I never really expected this stuff to actually look like it was glowing or anything. He has some huge beefy arms. They kind of have this crest up at the top, this like bony protrusion at the shoulder. Big and beefy, another protrusion at the elbow. Very tough looking hide here. Then we come down to the hand. The hand's all warty and calloused. And then we have some big kaiju fingers here, which just look particularly nasty. And then a little tiny thumb back up in there. Very awesome. And here on the chest, it's a big broad chest on him, looking a lot like a gorilla, kind of a pot belly going on there. Great texturing with the little teeny bumps and wrinkles in there. The paint really bringing it out because he's this darker paint color, but there's a lot of different washes and dry brushing effects all over him. Scaly, nasty legs. And his little teeny tiny hind legs, little tiny feet. Just really all that power is up front on this creature, but really, really beautifully sculpted figure. I love it. Absolutely love it. For articulation, we already mentioned the mouth here, but the head can swivel side to side, which is cool. I wish it was on more of a ball joint or a hinge or something, because he does kind of rear up a lot in the movie. It'd be nice to try to put him on his hind legs and put the head down and have him looking a little different way. This kind of limits what you could pose him as. The arms, I believe, are technically on ball joints. They really just swivel forward and back, kind of on a V-cut, but you can feel they want to move in and out a little bit, but not enough to really do anything. The elbow is on a hinge. They can do about 45 degrees here, but it's angled inward, which helps with the motion to make him look like he's walking, but unfortunately, because of the weight of the hands, these joints are very loose. and it just kind of makes it hard to support his weight on him sometimes. The hand, I believe, is also on a ball joint, but it really only functions as a swivel. You don't get a whole lot of extra motion out of it, but you can definitely swivel it pretty well. The fingers, we got some Marvel Legends stuff going. I mean old school Marvel Legends, because we have articulated fingers, 3 individually articulated ones up here, and then a little tiny bit of mobility out of that thumb. I didn't expect that, but it is a treat to have that on an action figure. Finger articulation is all too rare, and I love having it. Now, we don't get anything through the torso. We do get some ball joints at the bottom of the legs. You can swivel at the upper leg, bend at the knee. You have a little back bent ankle knee over here, and then a ball joint at the foot itself. So that gives you a really good range of motion on the hind legs. And overall, I think Leatherback is simply amazing as an action figure. The kaiju in this film are so cool looking, and I think NECA really did Leatherback justice here. It just is massive in scale, it's massive in the amount of detail on them. There's some places, yeah, I would prefer it to be a little nicer. I would prefer some minor changes, but for what we got for about a $16 price point, holy cow, that's a lot. That is a lot of stuff for not that much money. It's a very cool action figure. I highly recommend picking him up. Now, the downside is we know that the kaiju in Series 3 is not going to be quite so massive. We're getting Blade Head, and that's going to be roughly the same size as Knife Head, but we are getting a completely redone body. So for the fact that Knife Head kind of sucked in articulation, this new one's going to be fully articulated, which makes me pretty excited. As I mentioned before, we're also going to get Cherno Alpha, and we're going to get Coyote Tango, one of the only other Jaegers to kind of get a spotlight in the film. NECA's also stated that they intend to do a couple other individual releases of some kaiju, I believe. I'm not entirely sure how those are coming out. They're coming out around the same time as Series 3, but they were very specific to say they were not part of Series 3. So they could be store exclusives, they could be con exclusives. I'm not really sure what's going on with that, but I am very eager to see what they come up with. Unfortunately, from the sound of Twitter, it sounds like we're not going to get an Otachi, the companion piece to go with Leatherback, and that's kind of a bummer. But you know what? Bring on whatever you could bring on. I want them. I want them all. I will buy them all. They're cool. So I hope you guys enjoyed Pacific Rim Week, and, well, this wasn't the only wave of figures to hit stores lately from NECA. There's some other guys that, well, I think you guys pretty much just expect me to review them no matter what, so how about we get to some Predators next week? So wrapping up Pacific Rim Week, heading into Predator Week, just gonna be monsters like crazy. Make sure you check out Outside the Box Reviews on Facebook, be a link below. Also check out Outside the Box Reviews on Instagram, username Outside the Box Reviews. And come and talk toys and collectibles with us over on allscaleseverything.com. And until next time, stay tuned because, well, like I already said, we got some Predators coming. If you collect it, you can find it at allscaleseverything.com.